Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Bernard Haitink, the London Philharmonic recordings, the complete ones on Decca and Phillips in the fabulous "You Let It Fall on Your Foot and Kill Yourself When You Take It Off the Shelf" case. I like these cases in essence. You know, they're solid and sturdy. They really are. But you're going to, the way that they do them, and why can't they just do them this way? You know, like that way we don't have that issue. I mean, it's absolutely fine. But, you know, that would be too easy, wouldn't it? So here we have the London Philharmonic recordings complete. And, there's some interesting stuff here. I have to say, Haitink was hit and miss with the London Phil particularly. This was sort of his revenge orchestra, because when he took over the Concertgebouw initially, he was joint music director with Eugen Joachim, and they wanted to do a Beethoven cycle because they really hadn't done one since like Mengelberg or, you know, most of those things. Bynum didn't do Beethoven particularly, so on record anyway. And so, Haitink was all gangbusters, and they didn't want him to do it because they thought he was too young and inexperienced, and he was. So he went and did it in London. It says something that they don't care about being young and inexperienced in London, evidently. But no, Phillips agreed to make the cycle. So, they did it there. But it was odd. It was odd. And actually, the interesting thing is that Haitink was never a great Beethoven conductor. He was never a great conductor of anything from the classical period. Not Haydn, not Mozart, not Beethoven. I know he did some Mozart operas as an accompanist. But nobody's screaming and running around for Haitink's Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven, mostly. I mean, later, remember, he did an LSO live Beethoven cycle, which wasn't bad because it partook of some of the period instrument stuff, so at least it speeded up and got interesting. But he later did a complete cycle with the Concertgebouw, but he was never a to the manner born Beethoven conductor, because he never had that sense of struggle, that excitement, the fire in his belly that you really need to do Beethoven. That just wasn't him. He was a gentler, kinder sort of guy, although he could do music of ear-splitting and hair-raising vulgarity with great conviction. He always was sort of rooting for the underdog, and sometimes it could be amazing, the results, sometimes not. And there's quite a bit of not here. But where it's great, it's absolutely spectacular. So let's talk about what's in here and who's doing it and what, and we'll see. First, there's the useless Beethoven cycle. All right? I mean, it's just no point in pretending it's anything other than flat and boring. It always was. And it's very interesting, actually. The notes here are trying very, very hard to make a case for two of his more colossal failures on disc, Beethoven being one. But you do get the triple concerto with the Beaux-Arts trio. That's a beautiful performance. A few overtures, the Creatures of Prometheus, Coriolan, Leonore No. 3, and Egmont, also nothing to write home about. Then you've got the Alfred Brendel and Choral Fantasy, Beethoven Piano Concerto and Choral Fantasy cycle. His first one, Brendel's first one with the London Phil. And as always, Haitink is a most sympathetic accompanist, and Brendel is somewhat ordinary, I think, in this cycle. But, people rave about Brendel, and I'm not going to get in their way. I find him, less than scintillating, let's put it that way. But it's better than the symphonies. That's for damn sure. I saw Brendel do 3 of the Beethoven concertos. I saw him do 3, 4, and 5 at one time or another, and they were good concerts. But his recordings, I find, a little bit arch. That's the word, arch. They have archosity, meaning a little precious. He also is somebody who just never lets go, and anyway. So there's that. Then we've got the Dvorak Cello Concerto, Silent Woods in the Ronda with Maurice Gendron. Gendron was a wonderful cellist, and this is a beautiful performance. Also a little bit soft-grained, very lyrical, but very, very beautifully played, and I'm not complaining about it at all. Yes, Holst, The Planets. and the Elgar Enigma variations. This is a great planet with a very, very slow Mars, and Neptune is just, with the celesta rippling in the background. It's all atmosphere, and you just dissolve into eternity at the end. It's really, really well done. He gave that work a tremendous amount of love and care, and you can tell, and it works really well. The Enigma variations are good, but not special. They're decent. Decent, sort of, a little bit flat-footed. But the planets, whoa, that's really great. Then we have 12, 13, 14, 15 discs of the Liszt tone poems and the Mephisto waltz. This is another one of those places where the note writer tells us that it's like one of the best things Haitink ever did. It's one of the dullest. It really is. It's not a question of tempo. It is not. I mean, well, actually it is, and a couple of them are just a little soggy. But most of them move along fairly well. The sonics are nice, but it's just flat-footed music making. I mean, with Liszt, you have to be demonic. You have to not be afraid of the vulgarity, and you can't try and pretend it's anything other than what it is. I mean, in pieces like Hunenschlacht or Mazeppa, or he just doesn't come alive. The orchestra needs more bite. It needs more action. It needs more weight. It needs just more malicious glee. And Haitink was not a malicious glee kind of guy. He was kind of dour, actually. And, when Liszt doesn't need dour. He did a lot of lugubre himself. But it has to be played with relish. And the relish ain't there. Mustard, maybe. Relish, no. Then we've got, the piano concertos, 1 and 2, and the Totentanz with Brendel. Stunning. This is one of Brendel's great, great discs, particularly the Totentanz, which is amazing. Here they all just come off. I think that was Brendel, because Brendel did have that sort of, that element of sort of demonic glee when he played Liszt. Liszt was one of his, his naughty pleasures, and he had a good time with it. The very end of the Totentanz, where the col legno strings are going, the piano's doing its glissandi, and he whips them out. I mean, nobody does it like that. It's just phenomenal. It's marvelous. And the piano concertos are absolutely great. That's a fantastic disc. Mendelssohn, Symphonies 1 and 3 through 5. 2 was later done by Riccardo Chailly, I think. Did number 2. Someone else did number 2. And then he's got the overtures, Calm Sea and Prosperous Voyage, and the Hebrides. The Mendelssohn is lovely. It's very, very pretty. It's effective. It's nicely done. Musical and attractive. Not sort of make you sit up and take special notice, but you can't argue with the basic musicianship. He did a disc of Mozart opera overtures, which are boring. Then, Rimsky-Korsakov, Scheherazade. Oh, this is one of the great Scheherazades. This is fabulous Scheherazade. It's one of those things where Haitink just goes all in for color and precision. It's not fast, but it's exciting because it's so well played and so beautifully judged. It's an absolutely gorgeous performance. Before the Kondrashin came out, this was like one of the great Scheherazades. Everyone was using it as a reference recording, or at least they were in England. And sometimes they're right, and even in England, they're right. Sometimes this was really, really beautifully done. And you get the Rachmaninoff Paganini Rhapsody with Ashkenazi, which is exciting. I mean, that's nice to have. He did that one in London. He did the other concertos with the Concertgebouw, the second or third or fourth time around, whatever it was. So you only get the Paganini Rhapsody, which is very good. I mean, it's what you might expect. Then here's a weirdness. He did part of his Shostakovich cycle in Amsterdam and the bulk of it in London. But when they released the Concertgebouw set, they gave you the complete Shostakovich cycle, which was a very good idea, because why would you only want a bit of one? But then they have deconstructed it here and given you only the London Phil Shostakovich, which was stupid, really stupid. So you've got Symphonies 1 through 4, 7, 9, 10, and 15. Of these, the only really, really great ones are 4 and 15. 1 through 3 are, 1 lacks a little snap. 2 and 3 nobody cares about. I mean, they're okay. 4 is grave and serious, but it works. It really does, and it's very well played. 7 was an early digital recording. It's sluggish, and the sound was never terrific. 9 was coupled with 1, and it was also kind of dour and lacking in wit and point and perkiness. And 10 is just not happening. It's not a terrible performance, but it's not a very exciting performance. The second movement, the Stalin Scherzo, doesn't really amount to very much. The finale could have more brilliance. The first movement climax it just doesn't have the intensity. 15 is interesting. 15 is a slow performance, but it's such a gloomy, dark, creepy piece. And Haitink gets into the gloom and the creeposity or creepulousness or whatever you want to call it. It's creepy. It's spooky. It's very intense, and it's hushed and really sort of concentrated way. Very, very good. Then we've got Stravinsky, the Firebird, Petrushka, and the Rite of Spring. These were also very good. Ironically, they came into competition with Colin Davis doing the same 3 ballets with the Concertgebouw, which is weird. Oh, that's so weird. And, the Colin Davis is really full of character and personality, and the orchestra's better. But Haitink's performances were always very highly respected. I mean, I can hear the Rite of Spring being done more savagely, for example. And, maybe the Firebird's infernal dance isn't quite infernal, but they're awfully good. I mean, they're similar to the Scheherazade. There are things where Haitink, really got extremely musical and well-turned results. I mean, they're beautiful performances. I still enjoy them. I have them right here. They're right here on a twofer. One of these twofers that I've stuffed back here has those 3 Stravinsky ballets. I've always kept them around because they really are fine. And then finally, we have Don Carlo. He did Don Carlo. Yeah, I mean, an echt Verdian, Haitink was not. I think his conducting here is really a little bit uninteresting and dull. The cast is not bad. You've got Galina Gorchakova and Olga Borodina and Dmitry Vorostovsky. They're all Russian. And, Roberto, Scandiuzzi or Scudaluzzi or I don't know. I can't read it. It's one of those. The type is the same color as the background here, so I can't tell you. But, the singing is okay. But really, it's just not. I mean, you've got Schulte, you've got Cellini, you've got Karajan in the 4-act version. You've got some really fine Don Carlos breezing about out there. And this one is lower down in the list. It really is. So what's the bottom line here? If you're a Haitink collector, you may want these because there are certain things like the boring Beethoven cycle that haven't been around. The Brendel stuff is in the Brendel boxes. The Liszt tone poems were all out on Phillips twofers, where I have them still. And they are also not fabulous. But there's some things that came back. The Stravinsky ballets, the Scheherazade, the other thingy here, the planets, the Dvorak with Gendron. I mean, the Mendelssohn's quite good. It's beautiful stuff. It really is beautiful stuff. But whether it's worth a 31 CD box, that's the tough call. It depends on how much of a completist you are, really. Haitink is seldom bad, but he can be boring. And often here he is. That's the bottom line. Boring with dazzling moments. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.